On the screen is the definition of naive. What's important here is the second definition, to be deficient in informed judgment. In other words, to be unaware of what one is getting themselves into. About a week ago, this was me regarding this man, Shohei Kondo. A few days ago, I released a video on this person after having been clued into their existence by one of my audience members. I thought I'd take a look at the kind of content this person produced and quickly concluded that his rhetoric needed to be addressed. You see, I assumed Shohei was one of those people grifters use in their pursuit of farming and harvesting outrage, a fall guy where refutations of racist rhetoric would meet a brick wall, a shield against criticism. So I structured my video with this framework in mind. Shohei was not a grifter, just someone useful for grifters to take advantage of. You know, exactly what Gina Carano is to the critical drinker. I never said Shohei was a racist. In fact, I very specifically stated that Ubisoft wasn't calling people like him racist. Here's me saying exactly that at 22 minutes and 25 seconds into my video.
When we protest about it, and then their response is basically, "Shut up, you are racist."
Shohei, unfortunately, like Yasuke, you are an outsider caught up in a larger conflict. Ubisoft is not calling Japanese people who may have issues with watermelons and sakura being depicted in the same season racists. They are calling these people racists. The people that are now using you as a shield to deflect from their obvious racism. As you can see, the entirety of my video, I am giving Shohei the benefit of the doubt, where I think he's mostly just misguided and misusing terms like DEI. I didn't know him well enough to make definitive claims about him, so I stuck to what we all could see, and I simply refuted a few of his arguments. So you can imagine my surprise when he, in less than a few hours of my video's release, had a response up to my video claiming I was slandering him, whining to YouTube to get my video taken down as his had been, and generally misrepresenting basically everything about what I said in my video. He even claims that someone responding to him is bullying when actually that's the type of behavior he is engaging in, something you'll see in a moment. I can't say I expected a response from this guy, but what was even more illuminating was how he was framing the video I'd made. This, of course, led to his newly gained followers rushing over to my video, making claims about it that weren't even in my video, just as hastily as Shohei did. So, I am naive no more. Shohei Kondo is a grifter, and in this video, we're going to prove it. So, as I said, Shohei released a response to my video almost immediately after it was uploaded, and he attempted to play victim instantaneously. He tweeted about my video 4 separate times, twice before and twice after he uploaded, in English and Japanese. In this tweet, he claims he was attacked by me, and not only was I lying about him, but that I was slandering him. On the screen is the definition of slander. As you can see, slander is when one brings false charges against someone in order to defame them. Any honest person that watched my video will see that I not only wasn't defaming him, as again, I didn't even think he was a grifter in the first place, but nothing I said in the video was false. I mean, that's kind of impossible, as I played what he said and responded to the things he said. So this charge of slander literally doesn't even make sense. What's actually happening here is Shohei thinks no one should be able to criticize him or the things he says, which is incredible given he's literally done exactly what he's whining about. In other words, this guy is a hypocrite. But let's get to the video he made on me, and I'll show you just how much of a liar and a cheat this man really is.
Ohayou gozaimasu. So, I'm kinda under bully attack. Really.
Almost immediately, you can see the issue here. This man just said he's under a bully attack. I made a video criticizing some of his ideas, and he frames this as a bully attack. The goal here is to garner sympathy, to make it seem as if he's a victim in some kind of scheme by me or people like me. I didn't even know he existed a week and a half ago, and usually I try to reserve judgment on a person that I don't know anything about. This is why I structured my video around him simply not knowing the part he's playing in the culture war, and saving my vitriol for those I actually know. Seriously, watch my video on Kang Min Lee and you'll see the marked difference in the way I responded to Shohei.
This guy, and he has 200k. Hold on a second, I have. And he has the video exposing the grift. Shohei Kondo versus Ubisoft.
There it is. An hour after the video was uploaded, he's already on camera responding to the video, and you can clearly see he hasn't even fully watched it. On this frame, you can also see that he watched a bit of my video on Kangmin Lee, and now we know why he's here framing my video in such a manner. Lee and I have a history. In case it's not clear, we do not like each other, and it's for good reason. He's an actual anti-black racist. If I showed you the worst of what that Hogwarts house elf posts on Twitter about black people, this video would get demonetized. So there is an antagonistic tone I take with Lee in that video, because he is an evil piece of shit, and I fight fire with fire. Shohei has assumed I am doing the same to him, but that could have easily been rectified if he took the time to actually finish watching the video before sitting down to record a response. You might think that this isn't important, but it is, because he will use this framing for a video he hasn't yet watched to color the rest of this response. As he's already attempted to paint himself a victim without actually watching the video, he will cut out moments where I make salient and relevant points, which he probably wouldn't have done had he actually attempted to understand the video I made.
And you know, something really funny is that, oh my God, this is really the problem. Okay, so the comment, this video isn't mean to denigrate or hate Shohei, as I think he's mostly misguised. Okay? But let's watch his video. That's so annoying. It's getting likes. That doesn't matter. But let's watch. Mic test.
So I get it. I, myself, tried to educate people on Japan and explain some of the do's and don'ts while in the country.
But what he's gonna say in this video is it's totally wrong. But thank you for being nice in Japan.
You're welcome. But how would you know what I'm going to say about Japan is wrong when you haven't even fully watched this video? We're already starting with a dishonest framing of this issue. You're showing Ki Hui Kwan and Michelle Yeoh apparently being ignored by people accepting an award at an award show, which I can only assume you believe was done purposefully. Typically, at these award shows,
that's obvious, yeah. So what you wanna do? you wanna explain no Asian hate or no like ignorance towards the Asian?
So I was very clearly correct there. Shohei was showing that footage because he actually believes Emma Stone and Robert Downey Jr. were purposefully ignoring the Asian people in this footage. He just admitted it, just doubled down, and is watching me refute this in real time. Remember, guys, I am slandering him and lying about the things he says and believes. I mean, heck, in the very footage you show, Emma walks right past Charlize Theron with a mere glance.
She has a trophy. It's different.
Except it's not different, and is something that happens all the time. There are too many people up there to thank and hug, and there is a limited amount of time they have on the stage. With everything that's happened with Will Smith's antics, I'm sure the Academy Awards are running an even tighter ship these days. But regardless, my point is that Shohei is cherry-picking, and he is admitting to cherry-picking here. Once again, I have not slandered this person, and he is literally proving my point. In the full clip, you see Emma does turn around and acknowledge Charlize and Michelle Yeoh. So to my audience,
So in this part, he's just trying to prove that there's no Asian hate.
No, I'm very clearly showing that the way you frame things is dishonest, like how you've tried to frame my video as a slanderous attack and bully video when you're quite literally proving everything I said true. I absolutely believe that Asian people receive hate for simply being Asian, but this is not an example of that, and it's ridiculous that you think it is. Why would Emma turn around and acknowledge Michelle if this was an example of Asian hate? You literally cut that part out of the footage because, once again, you are dishonest. Just like you called my video slanderous, you cut out the piece of footage that would debunk your claim. This by itself should show everyone that you're not to be taken seriously. But it gets even better than this. But you only focused on the Asian.
What? Racism exists. Racism exists towards the black. Racism exists towards the white. Racism exists to Asian. So I don't get it, what you say. And I'm Japanese, and I'm talking about Assassin's Creed Shadow. So I need to talk from Asian perspective.
Again, the point isn't that there aren't issues Asians and Asian Americans face. The issue is that you're dishonestly framing non-issues to prove an imaginary point. The example you showed was not an example of Asian hate because the same thing happened to black and white people in the very same instance. You would have known that had you not skipped through my explanation. You can see content the other options.
I'm gonna skip.
Speaking from the perspective of an Asian person does not mean you get to ignore the injustices of other people. If you want people to take your claims seriously, you have to be consistent across the board. You are not, and you admitted you are not. Me being me, I obviously responded to the clear hypocrisy, pointing out that Japanese people appropriate other cultures all the time.
So he's really generalizing me and these people. I'm not these people.
I literally never said you were these people. What I am doing is pointing out a pattern of behavior where some Japanese people have a sensitivity regarding people adapting their culture while simultaneously being numb to when their own people do the same thing. We clearly just proved that, where you admit to only focusing on what you perceived as slights towards Michelle Yeoh and Ki Hui Kwan, but ignored when that very same thing happened to non-Asian people. The point is that you are a hypocrite and that you're dishonest. I am pointing out hypocrisy here, something you, once again, admit to. Again, I remind the audience that I'm supposedly slandering this person that is admitting to everything I claim about him. You can't make this up.
This is kind of really bad way to manipulate information, and also something I can promise in my channel, this kind of misleading manipulation won't happen. Yeah, it's very bad technique. After talking about me and the Japaneseness and slightly switching some generalizing bad aspect of Japan's problem, it's making viewer think I'm part of it, which is not. It's kind of bad, like a manipulating technique.
Perhaps that is the case for the ignorant, ridiculous people that are now a part of your audience, but it isn't true for mine. Rational people can see how I'm drawing a comparison to a pattern of behavior. I'm not calling you the people in the photos I showed. I'm saying you would never complain about those Japanese people in the photos I showed appropriating or disrespecting someone else's culture, but you're here hyper-focused on a video game that you perceive to be doing the same thing. Once again, we are pointing out how you are a hypocrite. This pattern of behavior I'm talking about here is something you literally demonstrate and admit to. You told us with your own mouth that you only focus on the Asian perspective, but as I showed, the thing you focused on happened to other people in those same moments. This is exactly the same as other Japanese people focusing on Kim Kardashian appropriating Japanese culture, but not caring when Japanese people appropriate other cultures. This is not that difficult to understand. And of course, he skips through this part because it's difficult for him to explain away. I wonder how you can claim a video is slanderous, but you missed half of it because you're skipping through parts that are difficult for your narrative.
And yes, there's a historical inaccuracy, but what we care is that respect.
By the way, how is this situation any different to Resident Evil 5?
Here.
You have a foreigner in a country where the majority of...
I said many times, Resident Evil. Some people don't like the Resident Evil 5, the white character going to Africa and is shooting African zombie. People don't like it. I get that. I get some people triggered. But if that's why, this is okay. But he is making video as if I didn't mention about Resident Evil. This is awful. I clearly say that in many videos. And important, I haven't played Resident Evil 5. And also, I hear a group of people who are uncomfortable about Resident Evil 5. I hear you. But it's much worse though. Assassin's Creed Shadow is much worse. There's no zombie and all enemies are all Japanese. So it's much worse. It's different.
He's doing that thing again where I show evidence of the same thing happening to other cultures, but he's saying the thing happening to Japanese people is worse. Because, you know, the thing I put on the screen that he skipped through, the way black people in Resident Evil 5 were treated is actually much, much worse than in Assassin's Creed Shadows. First of all, the idea that because the enemies in Resident Evil 5 are Majini, everything is okay, is ignorant of the events of the game. Also, they're not zombies, they're Majini. Small nitpick, but Resident Evil is my favorite video game series, and calling these creatures zombies is a huge pet peeve of mine. Anyway, in Resident Evil 5, it's revealed that the founders of Umbrella found a plant in Africa that contained a virus that they then experimented on, the results of which gave them the T-virus. After Umbrella fell, sometime after the events of Resident Evil Code Veronica, a new company, Tricell, took over in Africa and conducted inhumane experiments on the native African villagers. So, the enemies in the game were innocent villagers captured and experimented on by a large corporation, and you play a white guy that takes them out. I'm not seeing the functional difference here. In both instances, the enemies are different ethnicities to one of the game's two protagonists and are attacking the protagonist, so that protagonist has to take them out. It's a one-to-one comparison. Also, quite a few of the people Shohei tricked into thinking I was attacking him attempted to call me out on this point, suggesting that I cut off Shohei saying the same thing I did. This section of my video was specifically about grifters and people that follow grifters, not Shohei. I was making a meta point about how grifters and racists are complaining about Assassin's Creed Shadows, but have nothing to say about Resident Evil 5. I even show on the screen the kinds of people I'm talking about when I put heel versus babyface on the screen, a person that's an actual grifter. Remember, this video was made at a time where I didn't think Shohei was a grifter. The best you could say is that I wasn't as clear as I could have been with who I was talking about, a criticism I'll gladly accept. But in my defense, my audience knew who I was talking about, and we have no way of knowing you people would take it any other way than how I've been framing these videos, of which this is the 13th.
But again, I mentioned many times, so removing that part and criticizing me is really bad. It's, how can I say in English? 卑怯. 卑怯. Super 卑怯. And I hate 卑怯. Be samurai, man.
Even in Japanese, that doesn't make any sense. You're suggesting I'm lying about your position, which we just showed is a misunderstanding on your part and something I admittedly could have made clearer. But let's assume I was being malicious. Lying about your position is not cowardice. Hikyo in this context means to be unfair or uncharitable to your position, the one at the bottom, not the one you highlighted. You see, like you, I speak Japanese and English, so I would recommend that when you talk about me in Japanese, you show accurate English translations to your audience. I mean, you would never get cultural things inaccurately while complaining about Ubisoft doing the same thing, right? It's a genre of fiction that gives us an ahistorical story set in a real historical period. That being the case, they don't have to get things exactly right. Almost no game does.
They're saying historical accurate. I shared in many videos. I'm not going to show it. Just, if you've been watching my channel, you know it. I've been showing a lot of evidences, and you can still see.
And what did Shohei say about Ghost of Tsushima?
Tell me.
Japanese slang?
Not slang, like Japanese game word. Kami. Oh, my face is there. Like an old Shohei is behind me. I'll show you. Here. Ni hao. Ni hao. Yeah. Gut level game.
That's not even the only historical inaccuracy in Ghost of Tsushima. The game places emphasis on one-on-one duels, which...
So this is also another manipulation. In my many videos, I showed evidence of Ubisoft is kept saying historical accuracy. And also I have the interview, check that, they're really trying to do it historical accurate. And they're selling that as historical accurate, authentic. It's very different.
Shohei, we know you've placed Ubisoft under the microscope. That's not what's being said. I'm saying you didn't do this with Ghost of Tsushima, a game you consider a god-level game. Also, that Ubisoft is saying they want to be accurate to history does not make it cease being historical fiction. What do you even think historical fiction is? I literally placed the definition on the screen, and you ignored it. Try reading next time. Saying you want to be as accurate as possible does not mean they won't take liberties. Naoe is a fictional character. By definition, her inclusion means this story won't be accurate to history. You're taking them talking about getting things like armor and weapons accurate to the period and taking that to mean everything they put in the game will be accurate to history. But again, this is a science fiction series where at the beginning of every single game, they state clearly that this is a work of fiction. What the hell are you even arguing? Oh, I know that Ghost of Tsushima never claimed to be historically accurate, right? Well, what the hell is this then?
The company has taken great pains to reproduce the game's setting in 13th century Japan as accurately as possible, and the result is like playing through an Akira Kurosawa film. Attention to detail was of paramount importance to the development of this game. They consulted weapons experts to ensure that the Sakai family sword, which Jin wields, is depicted as accurately as possible. The team even brought in a number of historians and experts on 13th century Japanese culture to ensure that what you see on screen is as close to what happened in the Kamakura period as possible. Now, at this point, you may be asking yourself, so what? What does historical accuracy have to do with me and my desire to slice through all of these invading Mongolians? While historical accuracy isn't a prerequisite in video games by any means, the company's quest for realism is still commendable.
One of the things that I actually find to be really challenging is anything around Shinto or Buddhism. If you haven't studied it, it can be deep, you know. So we've hired like a PhD who's been studying this their entire life from Cornell.
We also have a Mongolian consulting on the cultures of Mongolian Empire, how they fight, how they speak. There's a combat consultant that we have. He's a master in all sorts of traditional movements in Japan, or martial arts.
So Sucker Punch has clearly done its homework with this game. While Jin and his storyline are works of fiction, the historical accuracy aspect is going to make this game really unique, and it's going to help illustrate what is considered one of the darkest periods in Japanese history.
Oops. Looks like Sucker Punch absolutely claimed their game would be historically accurate, and it definitely wasn't, as I pointed out. But you still called it a God-level game.
I feel this is definitely Kamiye.
Remember, guys, I'm slandering this guy by, wait for it, pointing out he doesn't know what he's talking about. But the point is, a game can be inaccurate to history, even wildly so, and still be a good game. Right, Shohei?
If you want to talk to me, DM me. Really, I can phone call.
What the hell do I want to talk to you for? I'm criticizing you, publicly. I have absolutely zero desire to talk to you, as there is nothing to gain from that conversation that I don't already know. Ring ring, I think this game is racist and disrespectful to Japanese culture. No, it's not. Boop. The fuck would we talk about? In any case, if you wanted to talk to me, you could have DM'd me. I'm very publicly available on Twitter and my channel, but you decided to run off with the idea that I'm lying about and bullying you. We're halfway through your video and you haven't shown a single instance of me slandering you yet.
But pretending not knowing or he works for Ubisoft?
While watching this video, this part is what made me get off my Mac.
This is so... In this video, I said many times about Resident Evil 5. So he watched it, but he's making this video as if I didn't mention about Resident Evil 5. That's so Hikyo. Man. Spirit. That's Hikyo. Be a samurai, man.
Was that an editing error? We already talked about this. You keep repeating yourself. 同じことを繰り返してるだぞ. Because calling someone that disagrees with you a shill is textbook grifter behavior. Don't be that guy. Your arguments are better.
There's something annoying is that you are the one who's doing that format.
I guess that was a retort of some kind. Anyway, you can clearly see I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, as I had been this entire video. I'm literally saying to not be that guy. I was still under the impression that this man was being used by grifters and the racist morons in his comment section. You can clearly see I've only been refuting some of the things he said, not slandering or bullying him. Well, actually, you can't clearly see that, as he's been skipping through this shit. Better served coming from the place that Westerners are simply ignorant of Japanese cultural norms, and you, as a Japanese person, are not. You are already losing ground with people that actually use their brains.
Such an insult. Such an insult, really.
Yeah, I am insulting the morons that don't use their brains when you and I are talking. You know, the majority of the people in your incredibly toxic comment section. This shit is so stupid.
I want to read his comment again. This video isn't meant to denigrate. Let me check the meaning just in case. Criticize. Disagree. You're doing 100% and hate Shohei.
That says criticize unfairly, Shohei. I think I've shown so far that every criticism I've laid at your feet has been completely fair, and it seems as if you're taking what I said as a shot against you. I very clearly said you are losing ground with people that use their brains, which means you're losing the rational people that listen to both of our arguments. It's not a mystery why your comment section looks like it does, and if you believe these people are using their brains, then you're not using yours. I warned you about these people in the very video you're responding to. The leopard will eat your face. All it takes is time.
And then, I mean, you can just go. The feel by pretty the hate comment towards me.
That's really not a game you want to play. Your comment section is a whirlwind of neo-Nazis that spew anti-black racism under the guise of sticking up for the poor Japanese man. Nearly every comment is shit-talking me because you have misrepresented my video and the purpose of my video, and a lot of these people came to my comment section to shit-talk and leave dislikes on my video. My comment section looks like a paradise in comparison.
They use anime for icon. What does it mean?
You don't think your own comments are a little ironic, Shohei?
No.
You just said that people who are claiming Japanese people
Talk to me.
can be racist also consume Japanese cultural properties. Are you not making the claim that Westerners are hating Asians while wearing the Yankees cap and living in New York City? People can enjoy aspects of a culture and be critical of that culture.
Yes,
You
yes,
yourself
I
are
agree.
demonstrating.
I agree.
I fail to see the hypocrisy.
I agree. But I respect. Respect meaning I'm okay stand with you. I'm okay to change my perspective to understand you.
Forgive me if I don't believe you. You see, this entire video has been me being relatively nice to you, simply refuting a few of your arguments. But you still uploaded this video, attempting to paint me as someone who was attacking you and bullying you, and you even asked YouTube why my video wasn't taken down. I don't think you'll change your perspective at all. I think you're fake. Here's a Japanese lesson for my audience. Shohei wa neko o kabutteiru, which literally translates to Shohei is wearing a cat. He knows what that really means.
When I started living in the US, I study English and I try to understand people here. So that's my respect. But looks like you have different definition of respect, I think.
I don't think that I do. For one, you couldn't even hear what I was actually saying, making those weird-ass noises and all. Hating Asians while wearing the Yankees cap and living in New York City. People can enjoy aspects of a culture and be cringe while wearing the Yankees cap and living in New York. So I don't think you even know what I said. I was refuting the idea that because people have anime profile pics that they cannot criticize a Japanese person, which is a ridiculous position to have. I was saying that someone can enjoy aspects of a culture while also criticizing someone from that culture. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You seem to be under the impression that because someone may like Japan, they cannot criticize a Japanese person. Quite frankly, fucking ridiculous proposition. And of course, he just skips through these parts of my video after attempting to criticize me for the Resident Evil 5 thing. Very not hypocritical.
Amazon PS5 bestseller. Let's check. Amazon JP. Shohei Kondo. Amazon JP. I mean, where?
A few of Shohei's sycophants tried this same thing with me on Twitter, suggesting that my screenshot was old, unaware I'm showing pre-orders for a game. This list will obviously change over time as, again, it's a list about pre-orders. The game is due to release in a month as of the writing of this video, so the pre-order list will obviously change with time. Here, I'll prove it. Shohei's video was made an hour after I uploaded my video, which was February 5th. It's currently February 11th, so 6 days later. As of February 11th, this is what the page Shohei is looking at looks like. You'll notice Black Myth Wukong is no longer in the top 10 on this list. It's dropped all the way down to the 40s. That is because this list is updated hourly and changes over time. Do you think Black Myth Wukong is no longer a game people in Japan care about? The point I was making with my original screenshot was that Japanese people were absolutely interested in the game, something Shohei was clearly unaware of and at one point was the #1 game in the country. Granted, I did say currently, and I shouldn't have said that due to the nature of how this all works, because again, it changes hourly. But if you want to say it's not number one at all times, congratulations, you've discovered dynamic lists. If the game were as hated in Japan, it would have never reached number one in the first place. That's the point being made.
Oh, here, 43. 43. Next, before Cyberpunk, I'm Japanese, I know. We love the things. We love material. We still buy CD. We still have tower record a lot of places. So if there is low 43, meaning we don't like it.
Yeah, that's not what that means. Again, I just showed Black Myth Wukong in 41st place, and on your screen, it's in 2nd. That doesn't mean Japanese people all of a sudden hate Wukong. It just means the list is fluid and things move around. Again, updates hourly.
Man, this guy. Misinformation, and definitely he's intending me to feeling hate.
Amazing, coming from the guy that promoted this video as me slandering him and has yet to provide a single instance of that. Dude, you asked YouTube why my video wasn't taken down. You're the last person to talk about misinformation.
Look how fast she is.
That's the sales point. Now I say it. Resident Evil in this not this TV. this video. Oh my gosh.
Context, and he's clearly misusing the acronym in the same way the acronym is misused by Trump and his insane supporters. These people have, for the longest time, said that if you want to include black people in stories, make your own movie or game or whatever.
Makes sense.
Now that these people have done exactly that, you call it DEI? Excuse me, this game isn't Japanese. It's made by a Canadian development team.
Yes, that's why DEI. That's why DEI.
Sir, you don't know what DEI means. You are embarrassing yourself here. DEI is a hiring practice, something companies do. A character in a video game is not DEI. You can't hire characters in a video game, numbnuts. There wasn't a male Japanese samurai candidate in the game, and Nobunaga was like, nah, I'm going to choose the African guy for no reason. That didn't happen. What the fuck are you talking about? And if you're claiming that a Canadian studio can't make a game set in Japan, I remind you that you called Ghost of Tsushima a god-level game, but that game was made in the United States. Again, what the fuck are you talking about? You are telling people how to make their own art simply because it's set in a place where you're from. Is that really the kind of game you want?
I didn't say. If I say that, prove it.
What the hell do you mean, prove it? You are trying to tell Ubisoft how to create their own art. You're saying they're being disrespectful to Japanese culture and are trying to get people to boycott the game. What the hell else are you doing then? Roasting marshmallows? Have real-life friends and family there. Would you call it DEI if a game developer wanted to make a game about me, the Birdman, and tell us...
See? It's different conversation, but he's putting me to his narrative. Yeah, that's the word. He's forcing me to put into his narrative with lie.
Are you having a difficult time keeping up with the video, Shohei? Okay, allow me to hold your hand. You claimed Ubisoft making a game about Yasuke is DEI. The only reason you're using that language is because Yasuke is black. So I say that I have a life in Japan. Friends and family exist there for me, and I've been there more times than I can count. Like Yasuke, I am a black person that has existed in Japan. So if a person wanted to make a video game about my life in Japan, would that also be DEI? What is so hard to understand about this? There is no lie here besides the one you're doing. I'm using your same logic for Yasuke on myself, and somehow you're calling that a lie? Do you know what the word lie means?
And then hiding the fact I've been saying many times.
Hiding what fact? It would be useful if you could actually provide an example of what it is that you're talking about. You're just saying things and not providing any context or clarification. Again, I'm simply using your logic against you. What fact is being hidden here? And to the surprise of absolutely no one, he skips through this part of the video as well.
about Yasuke.
These are not all the documents we can find about Yasuke. Perhaps that's all you can find in Japanese, but Luis Frois, the Portuguese missionary, also wrote about Yasuke.
The one I showed was translated version of this. And the Yasuke was couple sentences.
With mission
Oh
in Japan,
my
which
gosh,
was
this
published in
guy.
Americas in 1598. So while we are in agreement that Yasuke definitely existed in Japan,
I didn't say Yasuke doesn't exist. Yasuke existed. It's a document.
I quite literally said we are in agreement on this point. Dude, are you okay? Do those headphones actually work? Do you need me to donate you a pair? And during the Sengoku period, you seem to be ignorant of all the available evidence we have of Yasuke's life.
This guy, serious? What's going on, world? I shared.
Further, there is a Japanese children's book published in 1968 called Kurosuke. This book clearly depicts Yasuke as a warrior with a sword working for Nobunaga.
Yes, this is fiction and it's kind of new after World War II.
Yeah, no shit. If you let the rest of the video play, I state that this book is the first time someone depicts Yasuke as a warrior in literature, which predates Wikipedia for all the morons trying to say we have gotten our information from Thomas Lockley, a person I have never brought up. This book is 33 years older than Wikipedia and was written by a Japanese man, showing that Yasuke as Bushi is not the creation of Westerners. Try to keep up, for fuck's sake. This book was written by the Japanese novelist Yoshio Kurusu 33 years before the existence of Wikipedia. You heard me right. A Japanese man was the first person to depict Yasuke as a warrior with a katana in literature, thereby...
Okay, let's be clear. Japanese author who wrote about Yasuke, it's not DEI. Yes, it's not DEI. It's not DEI because Yasuke was in Japan, right? But Canadian using Sengoku period Japan and then making black samurai, that's DEI.
And if that doesn't seal the deal on this man's integrity, I'm not sure what will. It's DEI when Canadians do exactly what a Japanese man did. I would ask you to explain that logic, but there isn't any. You're a bullshit artist, just like the rest of them. Thanks for doing my work for me. It's much appreciated. And of course, he fast forwards again because he's not an honest person and would have you believe that I'm the one slandering him.
Okay.
Of this is
So it's talking about the Famitsu interview
Yasuke,
saying,
I was initially looking for a character who could become a samurai from our perspective, someone who wasn't Japanese, someone who could see things through our eyes.
okay, I know this translation. He definitely used ChatGPT to do this. But the other translation show the other stuff. Okay? I know it. I translated this many times. And I shared this version too in my video.
Actually, no, I translated this myself because I speak Japanese. For someone claiming someone is slandering him, you're sure as hell making baseless accusations about someone you don't know without any evidence.
And fact is, they deleted this. Meaning, they knew that's bad.
No, they cleaned up a poorly done translation to better reflect the words of the people not speaking Japanese. Like you, I also had some difficulty understanding the meaning of the Japanese in that article, because as I said in my first video, Famitsu did a one-to-one English to Japanese translation where some of the English was idiomatic. For Japanese people, English idiom sounds like poetic speech and doesn't make much sense, so we have to translate them to something easier for Japanese people to understand or a similar Japanese idiom. For my previous video, I conducted an interview with a Japanese person in Japanese and challenged them to read and interpret that translation, and they couldn't. Unfortunately, I recorded that audio with my phone and the audio came out really bad, but I'll play a bit of it here. So the whole problem was that I recorded the interview with this phone and the audio didn't come out great. So here's the metadata for the recording. You can see it right here. You can see the date, the time, and that it was that this is an actual recording. I'm going to play a little bit of it so that you can hear it. I'm not going to play the whole thing because, like I said, the audio is not great and it's hard to hear what she is saying. You can hear me, can't really hear her. So here you go. 新しいの箇所は、平気でしょ？全然平気。
こっちの方が自然。
さっきのは？
さっきのは英語のセンテンスを、無理やり日本語に直した感じ。だから、これは多分、ジョナサンが言ったのこれ。だけど、
The translation is like, it seems to me when I read it, it's more like a direct translation, which doesn't make sense in Japanese. そうでしょ？
そう。
わかった。
あと、こっちの。
So that's just a little bit of it. But like I said, the audio wasn't great. But the point was that myself, I speak Japanese, so I'm looking at the Japanese interview, and it was a little off. I could tell that they were translating it one to one. You see, the problem with certain English phrases is that they sound like poetry to a Japanese person. Like, we have this saying in English, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Like, English speakers, we all understand that, right? But to a Japanese person, if you translated that one to one, it would be like, 手の中に鳥がいる. That doesn't, it like, they would hear that as you have a bird, like an actual bird in your hand. It just doesn't compute. So you have to translate it into something that is more palatable for the Japanese ear. So, maybe another Japanese idiom or something that is close to the meaning that we're trying to get across in English. So there you go. Some conspiracy, huh? But because the majority of Shohei's newfound audience aren't actually Japanese speakers, he can get away with pretending that first article was legible and understandable. But unfortunately for him, I exist.
And then his comment. I want to read again. This video isn't mean to denigrate, I still can't pronounce, or hate Shohei.
You still have yet to actually show where I have denigrated or hated you. Disagreeing with your conclusions is not hate. Refuting your arguments is not denigration. You have thus far failed to provide evidence for any of the claims you have made about me. You haven't shown where I slandered you. You haven't shown why my video should be taken down. All you have done is fast forward my video. Congrats, you can operate a keyboard.
Oh my gosh, this guy. I mean, yeah. You are welcome to DM me if you want to talk to me. And you have more followers and you have a bigger channel. And what you're doing is pretty bully.
Two things. This is not bullying. I am calmly and rationally debunking the claims you make. I am criticizing your arguments and providing evidence for the things I'm saying. I never called you out of your name. I never asked my audience to come harass you. Where is the bullying? This is criticism. And second, what the fuck is my Instagram doing on the screen? You think you're slick, but we know what it is that you're doing. You're funneling your insane followers over to my Instagram so they can come harass me, like this guy. Yeah, these are the people you sent over to my Instagram. If I were to show YouTube this, you would be the one getting your video taken down. Again. You see, this is actual bullying and harassment, and these are the people in your comment section. Speaking of, look at this guy, just making shit up. But it's hard to blame him when Shohei not only told him what to think, but he just fast forward through the video when things got uncomfortable. So it kind of makes sense that this dumbass thinks this is what I said. In any case, I saw this sentiment a few times that I, the American, was trying to tell Shohei how to feel about the depiction of Japan. There were a few variants of this, the main one being that I'm trying to tell a Japanese person what his culture is supposed to be like this clueless idiot. Obviously, this never actually happened in my video, and instead I mostly focused on debunking Shohei's claims, like when he said the game was DEI, a concept he literally doesn't understand. To the contrary, I very specifically stated that I agreed with Shohei on how non-Japanese people disrespect Japan. I mean, that was only at the very beginning of my video, so I'm sure it was easy to miss. But the idea that a Japanese person knows everything about Japanese history is kind of a funny one, considering Japan is well known for sanitizing their own history and leaving out crucial details to the point that a large percentage of their population doesn't know what actually happened during World War II, for example. I'd bet when it comes to pre-Edo period Japan, he'd actually be no match for me, given I studied the topic at the collegiate level and Shohei couldn't tell the swords used in Ghost of Tsushima were incorrect. This is because Shohei knows modern Japanese culture, being a modern Japanese man. Ancient Japan is a completely different subject. Besides, this take is ridiculous on its face. Do you think all Americans know everything about American history? Here's another insane take from Shohei's comment section, that not only was I projecting, but that I am a racist and a grifter. Things like this don't even make sense. Projection? How, you living skid mark? Do you know what projection means? Shohei spent this entire response claiming that I was slandering him. If I were projecting, that would mean I'm saying someone is talking shit about me. What is your IQ, Panzer? Purple? And the accusation of racism is so far beyond me, I don't even know how to respond to it. If these clowns are going to suggest that a non-Japanese person refuting the arguments of a Japanese person is somehow racist, then surely these clearly white people are going to have to call themselves racist for doing the same to me, right? Oh, I forgot. Introspection takes a brain with a few wrinkles in it. Here's a fun one, where the commenter demonstrates his ignorance publicly. This person thinks that I'm somehow contradicting myself by using this hilarious caricature of my position that he just made up. I'm almost certain that I said I have been to Japan, which means, like Yasuke, I was a black person that existed in Japan at some point. I never make the claim that this means I have a say on Japanese culture. You just made that up. And in the span of one content, yeah, stick to making lame ASMR videos that no one cares about, bud. Yes, Birdman, the guy that dislikes Asians, particularly the Japanese, the guy that is always telling people to watch more Asian media, the guy that educates people on the etiquette of Japan and how to be respectful while there, the guy that defends Japan from dumbass Twitter accounts shitting on the country, the guy that loves Japan, particularly hates Japan. What are these people talking about, man? They just make shit up. No, Spencer, you have that out of order and you're leaving out context. You spammed nonsense and I banned you for spam. I didn't have to specifically delete your comments. That happens when you get banned. Enjoy your new home, though. No, Urethra, that's not my catchphrase. That's the title of my series. I can see how you got the two mixed up, though. They're only completely different concepts. Shohei, if you're still watching, this is what I'm talking about. There's no way this guy was originally a follower of your pre-Assassin's Creed content, and he's only here for the culture war. He thinks I care if the critical drinker responds to a video I made on him, when I would be satisfied if the drinker deleted his channel and we never heard from him again. And anyone that believes Forky picked me apart has about 6 chromosomes too many. And look at this fruitcake with raisins. I'll never get over how these people just make things up. The amount of likes here is cracking me up. Like, who seriously saw this and was like, yep, I agree with this take. That sure sounds like him. And why is Shohei liking this comment, guys? You know, a comment that implies that Yasuke didn't actually exist, even though Shohei agrees that Yasuke was a real person in Japan.
Yasuke existed. It's a document.
Yasuke existed.
What do you mean by that? This is an interesting one. Someone who clearly doesn't understand legalese trying to goad someone else into suing over criticism. And remember, these are the people calling people like me snowflakes. No, Curly, you cannot sue someone over criticism. No lawyer worth their salt would take the case after watching my original video, something none of you people actually did. The reason being is because the video wasn't slander or libel. You have to lie for it to be slander, genius, and as we just showed, Shohei has failed to point out any lies. What the hell are you doing here? What do you mean, join the club? Shohei is claiming I slandered him. This is what you said under my video about you. So what club is he joining exactly? The club where you thanked me for making a video on you? Or are you here to garner sympathy? What even is this, fettuccine? Anyway, you can see this comment section is a cesspit of people making things up about me, lying about interactions we had, and just a ward of nonsense by people too chicken shit to say these types of things in front of a keyboard. As I said, these are not the kinds of people you want to be allied with. But I get it. They're just pumping up the numbers, so you don't care, huh? So there you have it, folks. Shohei not only blatantly misrepresents criticism of his positions, he'll cherry pick and admits to the cherry picking. He very clearly farms and harvests outrage, and his comment section looks like a Klan meeting. He says people slander him, but he can't provide any evidence for this claim. He clearly stated that the Hidden Ones video claimed all Assassin's Creed haters are racists when that was never a claim made in that video. I know, because I watched it. So yeah, Shohei is a grifter. He's learned to milk this situation because nobody watches him otherwise, and to play victim and lie when he's called out. The only thing I wonder is what happens after the game comes out and there is nothing to talk about anymore. Oh, that's right. Leopards eating faces.